Hi, Ryan here. So real quick, before we start the review of Masters of the Universe, in this video, I wear a He-Man outfit, and I put it together with different parts that I found off of eBay, and it was really, really expensive. So the shoulder armor that I bought, I didn't notice before I bought it that it had some old-time war insignia. So I didn't think it would read on camera. It did. So I just had to add a tiny blur to each of my shoulders. Anyway, on to the review of 1987's Masters of the Universe. Hello again. So, one more quick thing. The bottom part of my He-Man outfit, after reviewing some of the footage, I found was maybe just one size too small.
What's wrong?
You can see my balls.
So unfortunately, I had to add just another small blur. Sorry about that, it really sucks. This costume cost me a lot of money. Anyway, last interruption, sorry, and please enjoy the review of Masters of the Universe. Is it recording? Okay, so while I was recording the He-Man review, my wife got a glimpse of me in my costume, and she's not super thrilled with me showing off part of my chest.
His nipples are weird.
Stop. So yeah, screw it. I blurred it. I blurred everything. Who cares? Just watch the thing. Oh, hi there. I'm about to sit down and watch a movie, but I thought I'd make myself some toast first. Come on, toast. There we go. Now all I need is a knife to butter my toast. And we are out of knives. You know what? I might have just the thing. Check this out. Cool. My old enchanted sword. Perfect for buttering toast. Oh, and my VHS copy of Masters of the Universe that I keep right next to it all the time. Whoa. Oh, I forgot. Every time I touch the sword, it puts me into a He-Man costume. Wow, this is so cool. It's so ornate. Very expensive looking. Hey, you know what? Since I'm wearing the outfit, why don't we go watch Masters of the Universe right now? I mean, I'm wearing the He-Man outfit. Come on.
He-Man, He-Man. Who's the big guy with the muscles?
Calm down, you psycho. That's just He-Man. You know, that weird barbarian beefcake with the slick page boy haircut who wears a loincloth that rides quite high and says this phrase a lot. But before Dolph Lundgren gave his clunky ADR fever dream performance as He-Man in 1987's Masters of the Universe,
He-Man, thank the sorceress you're alive.
I've been looking for you.
and even before the hilariously, and I can't stress this enough, weird cartoon, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, first existed solely as a toy line and a line of mini comics. Back in the early 1980s, toy company giant Mattel was struggling to keep up in the action figure race, and after a few unsuccessful toy lines, they came up with a muscly barbarian named He-Man. And in 1982, the He-Man action figure hit toy stores alongside a colorful array of supporting characters, like Man-at-Arms, Stratos, Teela, and don't forget the villains, Beastman,
Merman!
and of course, He-Man's arch nemesis, Skeletor. In order for Mattel to sell these strange new toys to kids, they had to establish some cool lore. So they released a series of mini-comics that came packaged with the toys. To sum up the Wikipedia entries I read, He-Man was a barbarian loner on Eternia, a planet ravaged by war. The war opened up a dimensional rift, which allowed Skeletor to enter Eternia. Skeletor's one and only goal is to take control of Castle Grayskull, an enchanted castle full of secrets and mystery. Also, a sorceress lives there, and her name is the Sorceress of Castle Grayskull. In order to protect Castle Grayskull, the Sorceress of Castle Grayskull gives He-Man special powers and weapons. Whoever has control of Castle Grayskull controls the entire universe. The comics must have done their job because the toy line was an enormous success. Mattel expected to sell about $13 million worth of toys, but instead sold almost $40 million. But that wasn't enough. Mattel wanted more, and they set their sights on the colorful world of animation. So in 1983, a year after the toy line debuted, Filmation developed the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe to the delight of children of all ages.
by the power of Grayskull.
The cartoon was hilarious. It's about as peak 80s nostalgia as you're gonna get, and it's wonderful. From its crazy characters.
Oh, boy. I have to get out of here.
Here's where he blocked the river.
Exactly. And now you got the chance to thank Fisto in person.
To the weird plot lines.
Remain rooted to that spot forever, sorceress, as a harmless tree. No! No!
To Skeletor's sick one-liners.
It's the sorceress, you boob. Come in, you royal boob. Dolts, half-wits, bunglers.
The cartoon was a huge success and ran for about 130 episodes. But that wasn't enough. Mattel wanted even more, so they sought out film production companies to develop a live-action film and were eventually approached by a production company called Cannon. At the time, Cannon was responsible for movies like Breakin', Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, Cobra, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, The Company of Wolves. Oh God, no, go back, go away from that. Cannon made Mattel an offer they couldn't refuse. Cannon would front 50% of the film's budget, while Mattel would make up the other half. And what happened next went down in the annals of film history forever.
This attack was only a test. Of what? The power of the cosmic comet.
Now, it's important to remember that the movie was not actually based off of the cartoon.
It will take more than your courage, He-Man. Zagra,
Here you go. Good boy. It was actually based off of the toy line from Mattel. So, if you're looking for consistencies between the cartoon and the movie, you're probably not going to find that many.
Right as the movie starts, we hear voiceover narration and see a fairly decent map painting of Castle Grayskull, the ominous, towering structure that looks more like a villainous lair than the neutral, enchanted fortress that it is. But it may as well be a villainous lair because right after the credits are done rolling, you see Skeletor and his soldiers march right down Castle Grayskull's throne room.
Seal the gates to the city. The castle is secure.
So is that it? Did Skeletor win? Because the voiceover narration just said,
For to those that control Grayskull will come the power to be masters of the universe.
And Scary Intense Meg Foster just said,
Grayskull is ours.
But even though Skeletor and his army of discount stormtroopers have captured Castle Grayskull, defeated He-Man's armies, taken the sorceress of Castle Grayskull prisoner, suckling away at her power like a bony little piglet, he still needs to get a hold of his arch nemesis, He-Man. So here's our first glimpse at the now becaped He-Man. After a quick random tussle with some robot bad guys and one too many close-ups of He-Man's greased up pectorals, he reunites with Man-at-Arms and Teela. I only know their names because I checked on IMDb. They don't mention their names until way later in the movie. Teela's name isn't mentioned until almost 10 minutes into the movie. Man-at-Arms, I don't think his name is mentioned until about 40 minutes in. And it would have been easy to introduce them because right after they rendezvous with He-Man, they meet Gwildor, a small captive of Skeletor's men.
Skeletor's forces were hunting me down. A million blessings upon you for saving my life.
Why are you so important to Skeletor?
Please come with me.
Gwildor takes He-Man, Teela, and Man-at-Arms to his not hobbit hole to show him why Skeletor is so interested in him. And it's here where we're introduced to the movie's central plot prop, or plop.
The cosmic key.
Gwildor explains that the Cosmic Key is one of his inventions. It can open up a portal in space and time using musical tones. It's like if a keytar and a TARDIS had a baby. Unfortunately, Gwildor made 2 Cosmic Keys, and Skeletor has the other, which is how he was able to gain access to Castle Grayskull and get a one-up on He-Man. Thanks, Gwildor. Thanks for your dumb invention. Not too long after that, Skeletor's men catch up to Gwildor's not hobbit hole, and He-Man and the gang are forced out the back door.
I don't like adventures.
We do not want any adventures here, thank you.
Hobbit much? Anyway, the gang make their way back into Castle Grayskull, only to get ambushed yet again by Skeletor. And it's here Skeletor explains his master plan.
While she remains imprisoned within this field, her powers increase my own. And when the moon reaches its zenith, the great eye will open, and all the powers of Grayskull will be bestowed upon me.
Anyway, a fight breaks out, the good guys get pinned down by gunfire, so Gwildor uses his Cosmic Key to open a portal and escape to, you guessed it,
I don't like adventures.
Welcome to Earth.
Skeletor is fuming that He-Man and the rest just escaped, but I'm not sure why. Your arch nemesis He-Man just bailed on your quest to obtain ultimate power. You're golden, man. He-Man's gone. Sure, he could come back, but just have your guys wait around the throne room ready to blast those greasy nips if he does. Wait it out until the moon rises. Just give it a day.
He-Man lives and possesses that key. Find them.
By the way, this movie wins the award for most lines delivered while the actor stares directly into the camera. Anyway, Gwildor's portal spits He-Man and his pals out in a secluded wooded area in New Jersey. But Gwildor has misplaced the cosmic key, so the crew sets out to find it so they can get back home before the moon on Eternia rises.
Good journey.
Good journey.
Good journey.
After the gang splits up, the audience is introduced to our two main Earthling characters. Julie, a wholesome young gal who works at a fried chicken restaurant, and Kevin, her cool musician boyfriend.
What do you think?
Sounds great.
This is Courtney Cox's first feature film role, by the way. The director, Gary Goddard, saw her in that Bruce Springsteen music video and apparently thought she had the right look to pull off a teenaged orphan. Yes, Julie's parents recently died in a plane crash, and since that happened, she's decided to leave town and start a life elsewhere.
I wish I could change things.
But you can't.
Oh, that's fun. Hey, kids, you having fun yet? Kevin's not having fun. He's bummed out that his girlfriend Julie is leaving town.
But Julie, why don't you take a later flight, huh?
Kevin, let's start that again. We decided.
But tries to make the best of their last night together.
What is that?
Or maybe not, because after the two stumble upon the cosmic key in the cemetery, Kevin turns it on and becomes dazzled by its flashing lights and kooky sounds, not unlike a small child.
You know, this is one of those new Japanese synthesizers. Here, let me try it.
So he proceeds to immediately ditch his recently orphaned girlfriend on their last night together so he can show it off to a friend at a music shop. To make things worse, Skeletor had been waiting for the cosmic key to be turned on so he could track its location.
We're locking in on the key's source of origin.
Have you assembled the mercenaries?
Here and awaiting your command. I have selected your finest warriors. Blade, Sarad, the Beastman, and Karg.
A curious quartet.
This little crew of villains is pretty fun. It's weird though how only one of these four villains is based off of a toy, Beastman.
Not so fast, Beastman.
The other three were made specifically for the movie and made into toys later. My guess is Mattel thought this was a good way to introduce new characters to turn into toys to then sell to little kids after the movie was a success.
Figures sold separately from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
But it probably would have served the movie better to use villains from the existing toy line to bring to life on the big screen. I think we can all agree it would have been awesome to see Stinkor live in the flesh.
Ew! The evil smell of Stinkor will overpower He-Man. We'll trap that skunk.
So with Skeletor's goon squad traveling to Earth in search of the cosmic key, it's around here where the movie starts to experience some pacing issues. After Kevin bails on his better half and heads to the music store, Julie gets attacked in the high school by Skeletor's crew. She narrowly escapes and runs into He-Man, who has an extended fight scene with Blade, until they're saved by Teela and Man-at-Arms, who come blasting in. I kinda forgot He-Man was in this movie for a while. Up until the point where Julie runs into He-Man, he hadn't been in the movie for almost 14 minutes, save for this quick throwaway moment of him just walking alone in the dark. Now that He-Man and his friends have reunited and the bad guys have retreated, the good guys leave in Gwildor's souped-up car and make their way to Julie's house to meet up with Kevin. Meanwhile, Kevin returns to the high school and sees the place had been destroyed, and gets mixed up with one of the detectives on the crime scene, Detective Lubick, played by James Tolkien of
You're a slacker!
fame. James Tolkien is a great addition to this movie. When he drives Kevin to Julie's house and starts asking questions about the cosmic key, I just have such a great time watching him have a great time.
Careful! How do you start this?
But because Lubick turned on the key, Evelyn was able to trace its location. So right after Lubick decides to take the cosmic key and leave Kevin, Evelyn and the bad guys show up and kick the crap out of Kevin and try to get the whereabouts of the key. But he gives up nothing, and so the bad guys track it from the air.
We should be able to track the key from the air.
They're always doing that, tracking it from the air.
Lock it in, we'll track it from the air.
Is tracking it from the air always an option?
Sign up!
Moving!
Looks like Skeletor got here before us.
Anyway, Team He-Man also just missed out on the Cosmic Key when they finally arrive at Julie's house and see Kevin's pathetic beaten body on the floor. I swear, this movie is 80% people just missing out on the Cosmic Key and chasing it to its next location, which so happens to be this music store again. So Team He-Man arrive at the music store, confront Lubick, who has the key.
I believe you have something that belongs to us.
But Evil Lynn and her crew show up and there's a huge shootout in the music store. While He-Man and company are bogged down by gunfire, Julie gets tricked into giving the Cosmic Key to who she thinks is her recently deceased mother.
You won't believe this.
Julie! But it turns out it's actually Evil Lynn in disguise. So now the bad guys are in possession of both Cosmic Keys. And that's it. Skeletor can just strand He-Man on Earth forever. Then he can just wait it out on Eternia for the moon to rise. Game over, He-Man. Nice try, and Skeletor went to Earth. He leaves Castle Grayskull, the one place he's been trying to reach since forever, just so he can go get He-Man and bring him back to Eternia. The movie could have been over, but nope, we gotta do this. We gotta have a big fight sequence involving air surfing people and lots of laser shooting. But despite He-Man's best efforts to retrieve the Cosmic Key, it all winds up being in vain as Skeletor corners the other good guys on a roof and threatens to kill them unless He-Man comes back to Eternia as Skeletor's slave. Julie also gets shot in the leg in the process, so she's out for the rest of the movie. And Skeletor finally does something smart by crippling their Cosmic Key.
Surrender your sword.
He-Man, no!
Teela, I have no choice. This is our fight. I don't want innocent people to die.
Oof, that ADR sucks. So Skeletor brings He-Man back to Eternia in chains, leaving Man-at-Arms, Teela, Gwildor, and the two humans behind on Earth. Kevin would probably have been okay with this outcome had Julie not been shot. Oh god, I'm gonna barf.
What's gonna happen to her?
Poison's already in her.
Cover it, cover it.
The wound will just keep growing.
Only our sorcerers can heal her now.
To make things worse, Gwildor explains that their Cosmic Key is broken, and that the tones that open up a portal back to Eternia were erased with Skeletor's zaps. So essentially, Gwildor needs to remember the correct melody to punch into the keys. Lucky for them, Kevin is a musical prodigy and can remember the literally 3-second long string of notes.
I've got it.
That's it! That's it! How did you do that?
I don't know. I just, if I hear a tune a couple of times, I can usually remember it. Besides, it had a good hook. I was gonna use it in one of my songs.
Songs? Why didn't you tell me you were a song maker?
Look, you've got the wrong song maker, Gwildor. All right, I'm just a stupid keyboard player in a high school band.
And with Kevin's confidence at an all-time low, Man-at-Arms gives one of the most powerful, rousing speeches ever put on camera.
Listen to me, boy. In half a chronon, we're not going to have a sorceress to go home to. So if you know how to do something with that thing, then you do it.
So while Kevin goes and fetches his synthesizer and Gwildor jerry-rigs his Cosmic Key, He-Man is back on Eternia getting tortured by Skeletor's whipping boy. And sure enough, when the moon rises, all of the power, or whatever, from Castle Grayskull
Fills me.
floods into Skeletor's body, turning him into Super Skeletor. This movie, by the way, fetishizes the concept of power constantly. It's all anyone talks about.
The power to be supreme, the power to be almighty, the power to be...
The power of Grayskull.
And her powers are now joined with mine.
She's taking your power.
Her powers increase my own. All the powers of Grayskull. All the powers of the universe. Universe is power! Power! Power!
Gary Goddard even went on to develop another toy-based series called Captain Power.
Power on!
Enough with the power already. Anyway, just as Skeletor has reached peak Skeletor power, the gang back on Earth get the Cosmic Key working, and along with Detective Lubick, teleport into Castle Grayskull. Full-out war breaks out in the throne room, Evil Lynn bails on Skeletor and pulls the soldiers out, and He-Man reaches for the sword, giving us this iconic moment. Skeletor and He-Man square off in a one-on-one showdown, and it's pretty weird. Everything goes dark on the set, colorful lights flash around the room, but He-Man gets the best of Skeletor. And once Evil's defeated, Julie and Kevin make their teary goodbyes to the people they met like 1 hour ago and head back to Earth. And hey, as a little bonus, Julie and Kevin aren't just brought back to Earth in the present day, they're brought back to the day Julie's parents leave on the trip that winds up killing them. Isn't that nice? Now Julie doesn't have to leave town and can stay with this stud forever.
What do you think?
Sounds great.
Classic.
Hey, so real quick, I have to take a break from doing the review to read a sponsored advertisement. That's right. In order to afford the costume that you see me wearing right now, I had to reach out to some small startup companies who were as desperate for exposure as I was for cash. And luckily, a company called labsteaks.com got in contact with me, and I jumped at the chance because I'm a big believer in lab-grown meat being the future of meat consumption. Here we go. Okay. This can't be right. Sick of beef? Tired of pork? Has chicken lately started tasting like dog food? Well, maybe you should try our dog food. Put stress on the word dog. Okay, I think that was 2 minutes. Speaking of people who needed more budget in their movie, director Gary Goddard. The budget on this movie was tight. The movie was supposed to be funded by both Canon Films and Mattel. But by the time the movie was halfway done being shot, Mattel revealed that sales on its Masters of the Universe toy line had fallen from $400 million to $7 million. So when it came time for Mattel to pay the production piper, they didn't have the money. Remember the final showdown between He-Man and Skeletor? It wasn't supposed to be just two actors swinging swords in the dark. There was a much more elaborate final battle scene between He-Man and Skeletor, but the day the crew was set to shoot it, the production company Canon showed up on set to shut it all down due to the budget constraints.
Yeah, they shut me down on the set in the middle of the battle, and I mean literally with someone picking up a card and putting it in front of the camera and saying, "You're done." I mean, in the middle of a shot. So that was kind of crazy, and I said, we don't have the end.
How insane is that? Imagine if Peter Jackson was a day away from filming the epic conclusion to his Lord of the Rings trilogy, when all of a sudden the production was like, nah, sorry, we can't do it. We're short on cash. Well, it's a bimmer. I'd like to finish my movie. Signs of low budget are everywhere in this film, and I'm not knocking it for that. It's not the crew's fault that the money wasn't flowing, but perhaps the ambitions were too high, and maybe there were some shortcuts that could have been made that weren't. One thing that stands out is Gwildor. Gwildor is played by Billy Barty, who's a fantastic actor. With the guy's charisma and animated features, he's a total natural in front of the camera. So why the hell did they cover his face with this extreme makeup job? His lips can't even move when he speaks.
I don't believe it! I've got a lot of serious work to do!
Why not just have Gwildor be Billy Barty? Give him a big beard if you have to, like in Willow, but the makeup job was a mistake. And judging from how intricate the makeup job is, an expensive one. These laser guns might also be a source of wasted budget. I know it's not exactly a budget buster to composite lasers into a shot, but you know what's even cheaper than a laser blaster? A sword. The thing that He-Man is known for holding up and carrying with him. He-Man does use a sword a fair bit in this movie, but he uses a blaster just as much. And it's not super fitting for He-Man. Anthony DeLongis, who plays Blade in the movie, is an actual sword fight choreographer and supervised a lot of the sword play in the movie. Seeing as how often He-Man chooses to use a gun, it feels like a wasted resource. Also a wasted resource, the setting of Eternia. The director and crew said they didn't much like the desert landscape they used as He-Man's home planet, but I don't really see an issue with it. Judging by both the cartoon and the comics, Eternia is mostly a rocky desert, so why ditch that and bring the story to New Jersey? I guess bringing He-Man into the same world the audience inhabits is exciting fun, but I don't think it was worth it. It complicated the story and not in a fun way. Imagine, if you will, a Masters of the Universe movie that exists solely on Eternia. If diehard fans of the cartoon aren't sold on the look of an open desert during the day, just tint the sky purple and boom, you have a fairly convincing Eternian landscape. And one of the wonderful and unique aspects of Masters of the Universe is the science fiction aesthetic colliding with the world of sword and sorcery. Seeing He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Teela hunkered over a campfire in the Eternian desert at night, trying to formulate a plan to retake Castle Grayskull after their forces were annihilated by Skeletor would have been a way more interesting movie. I don't need this. I don't need this.
Well, it's not very romantic for our last date.
I don't need this. I don't need this.
I wish I could change things.
I want this. To be fair, using Earth as a location isn't the craziest idea. It's not even outside the He-Man canon. The first DC Comics entry for Masters of the Universe is actually a crossover between Superman and He-Man, so he's had a brush with Earth before. And it's kind of entertaining seeing the fish out of water moments the gang face in a world that's alien to them.
I wonder why they put the food on these little white sticks.
Those are rib bones.
But what Masters of the Universe lacks, it makes up for in its performances. Specifically, Skeletor. Frank Langella is seriously awesome in this movie. Not in an ironically funny way either. I mean, he really elevates Skeletor to a truly memorable villain level.
Fight! Trace them! I want them and the key hunted out and brought to me!
Apparently, Frank Langella only took the role because his kids were such fans of He-Man, but holy smokes, did he put everything on the table with this.
You cannot hide from me!
Another great character is Detective Lubick.
Holy shit.
My only problem with his character is that he's not in the movie enough. His character is only along for the ride for the second half of the movie, and he even gets his own little Hollywood ending.
Lubick, look at you. So you're really gonna stay here, huh?
Some kind of retirement, huh?
Ideally, Lubick would have had some kind of appearance earlier in the film, depressed, feeling miserable about his lot in life. It would make his decision to abandon Earth for a life on Eternia make a bit more sense, and certainly more satisfying. And I know I haven't really talked much about Dolph Lundgren, but that's because there's not much to say. I like him as an actor, but he was the wrong choice for He-Man. He's not in the movie as much as he should be, and his character's not given much to do. He feels like a side character, and I'm not sure if it was originally written that way, or if he was cut down in the editing, but I know his performance wasn't well received by Mattel, mostly due to his accent.
I saw the rough cuts, I listened to Dolph Lundgren's voice, and I just about had a heart attack.
I'm knocking this movie a bit because it has a million and one things wrong with it. Corners were cut due to budget, casting was slightly amiss with Dolph as He-Man, but somehow, even considering the fact that it's based off of already established source material, it manages to feel pretty original. Movie theaters and streaming services today are jam-packed with sequels and reboots and comic book adaptations, most or all of which boasting sky-high budgets. Long gone are the days where we can see a pop culture icon brought to life in what is essentially an indie film. Imagine Iron Man being given a shoestring budget and too few shoot days to complete. Or how about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles not being given $135 million? Oh wait, that happened, and it was the best. These movies have that beautiful low-budget charm that can only be created in the absence of infinite resources. Without all the gloss, without the render farms digitally creating 90% of what's on screen. The Masters of the Universe reboot is scheduled for 2021, and Hollywood being the way it is now, it'll probably have all the money it could ever need. But will it have the heart that the 1987 version had? The big budget blockbusters of today are run by executive dinguses in suits, and soon, even they'll be replaced by some soul-crushing, note-giving algorithm, fine-tuning a movie with cookie-cutter precision, making it just good enough to make its money back. Tickets will be bought, studios will profit, but the key ingredient to making a legendary film will be missing. Risk. 1987's Masters of the Universe was a risk. It was a gamble. It was Rudy Rudiger. The reboot will be Eli Manning. Fuck Eli Manning. Great quarterbacks are boring. Portly defensive ends who inspire future generations are interesting and have a heart. Do yourself a favor and give Masters of the Universe a shot. Oh, well, this has been a really fun blast from the past, but it's time I get out of this outfit and back to my normal clothes. Thanks for sticking around and watching Masters of the Universe with me. Is it a perfect movie? No, but it's a unique blend of science fiction and fantasy that I think is pretty cool and definitely worth checking out. Anyway, without further ado, by the power...
What are you doing? Why is your shirt off?
Oh.
We talked about your nipples.